Hello everyone. Today we are going to read lesson 6, Weather and Climate. We hear about weather and climate all the time. Most of us check the local weather forecast to plan our days. And climate change is certainly a hot topic in the news. It has been said that climate is what you expect, weather is what you get. In other words, you can expect snow in Russia in January, but you may or may not get it on a particular day. Weather. It is the daily atmospheric condition of a place. It might be sunny, hot, windy, cloudy, rainy, or snowy. Sun drives the changes in the weather. Hence, weather is defined as the state of temperature, atmospheric pressure, wind speed, humidity, precipitation, etc. in the atmosphere at a given place and time. The weather is constantly changing as temperature and humidity change in the atmosphere. Meteorologists record the weather every day. The records of the weather are preserved for several decades. These records are helpful in determining the pattern of the weather at a particular place. The average weather pattern taken over a relatively longer period of time is called the climate of the place. If summers seem hotter lately, then the recent climate may have changed. In various parts of the world, some people have even noticed that springtime comes earlier now than it did 30 years ago. An earlier springtime is indicative of a possible change in the climate. Climate. Climate is the average weather pattern of a large region taken over a period of 35 to 40 years. Animals adapt themselves to the climatic conditions of a place. They may migrate to different places to escape from cold and harsh conditions like those that exist in the polar regions. Many animals and plants are found in the tropical region due to the hospitable climate. Climate varies from place to place and it may also vary over time at the same location. Since weather and climate greatly influence our routine life as also various economic activities, a systematic study of different elements of weather is essential. The science of monitoring and studying the atmosphere and predicting its weather and climate is called meteorology. People who study the weather and climate are known as meteorologists. Atmospheric temperature. Solar radiation is radiant energy emitted by the sun by means of heat and light. Only about 1 in 200 million parts of solar radiation reaches Earth's surface. The amount of solar radiation received by the Earth's surface is known as insolation. The amount of insolation decreases from the equator towards the poles. Therefore, the temperature decreases in the same manner. The temperature is minimum in early morning and maximum at the noon. The two regions of the earth with extreme climatic conditions are polar regions and deserts. The amount of insolation received by earth differs from place to place and from time to time. Intensity of solar radiation varies with the day and year, time and latitude. The Earth's surface absorbs maximum solar radiation during the day. At night, the heat absorbed during the day is radiated back. This process is known as the terrestrial radiation. Measurements of temperature. Temperature is the measure of how hot or cold something is. It is commonly measured in Celsius or Fahrenheit. The instrument used to measure the temperature is called thermometer. A Celsius thermometer will measure the boiling point of water at 100 degrees Celsius and its freezing point at 0 degrees Celsius. A Fahrenheit thermometer will measure the same events at 212 degrees Fahrenheit for the boiling point of water and 32 degrees Fahrenheit as its freezing point. You can use conversion formulas to convert a measurement made in one scale to the other scale. Temperature is a very important factor in determining the weather because it influences other elements of the weather. Temperature may be affected by sunshine, latitude, altitude, sea proximity and temperature, ocean currents and longitudes. Temperature distribution. Based on the amount of insolation received by the earth, the world has been divided into 3 heat zones. They are torrid zone, the hottest heat zone. This region is the hottest among the heat zones of the earth. Torrid zone spreads from Tropic of Cancer 23.5 degree north in the north to Tropic of Capricorn 23.5 degrees south in the south across the equator. The sun's rays fall almost vertically throughout the year in this zone. This region receives maximum insolation and thus has high average temperatures. Temperate zone, the habitable heat zone. This zone is the most suitable one for the human civilization to grow. There are 2 temperate zones on Earth. These two lie between Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere and the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. In this region, the temperature is moderate. Because of this tolerable temperature, it is the most convenient place on Earth to live. This region receives moderate insolation. Frigid zone, the coldest heat zone. This zone is a permanently frozen zone and lies to the north of the Arctic Circle 66.5 degree north and south of the Arctic Circle 66.5 degrees south, respectively. In this area, there is no sunlight for most of the months. However, as average temperatures here are very low, only a small number of people live in this region. This region receives the minimum insolation. Atmospheric pressure. Air pressure is simply the weight of the air above the earth. It is the force exerted by the weight of the atmosphere on the earth's surface. Air pressure changes with the weather. In fact, it is one of the most important factors that determine what the weather is like. The atmospheric pressure is maximum on the Earth's surface, mean sea level, and decreases as we go higher up in the air. Low pressure exists when air is warmer and therefore lighter. High pressure exists when air is colder and thus heavier. Air moves from a region of high pressure to a region of low pressure. In meteorology, pressure is charted on maps with isobars. The normal atmospheric pressure at sea level is 76 centimeter of the mercury column in the barometer. Millibar MB is the unit of measuring atmospheric pressure. Air pressure varies from place to place and time to time. This variation depends on temperature, density, moisture content present in air, and altitude of a place above the sea level. Atmospheric pressure at different places shows a pattern of pressure belts. Atmospheric pressure should normally increase from the equator to the poles, but it is not so. At some places, it is modified due to Earth's rotation. There are 7 major pressure belts on Earth, and these are not continuous. Winds. Air may not seem like anything at all. In fact, we look right through it all the time, but during a windstorm, air really makes its presence known. Wind is moving air and is caused by differences in air pressure within our atmosphere. Air has two types of movements. Air which moves horizontally is called wind, while air which moves vertically is known as air current. Winds are named after the direction from which they blow. A wind blowing from the east is called an easterly or an east wind. Farrell's law states that on account of Earth's rotation, wind is deflected towards the right in the northern hemisphere and towards the left in the southern hemisphere. Wind speed also varies greatly. A sudden change in atmospheric pressure causes wind to blow fast and vice versa. A British naval officer, Sir Francis Beaufort, devised a 13-level scale to represent wind force. The scale ranges from absolute calm to a hurricane. Wind vane is used to find the direction of the wind, and anemometer is used to measure the velocity of the wind. Winds can be broadly classified into three major types. Planetary winds constantly blow in the same direction all around the world throughout the year from one latitude to other. They are also called prevailing or permanent winds. They arise due to the presence of permanent high pressure and low pressure belts. Examples of planetary winds are trade winds, westerly winds, and polar winds. Periodic winds are the winds which change their direction periodically with change in season or time of the day. They are caused due to unequal heating and cooling of the Earth's surface. Examples are monsoon winds, land and sea breezes. Local winds blow as a result of some local variations of temperature on the land, which cause changes in air pressure. They blow in a particular season over smaller areas and for a short period of time. They are known by the local names in that region. For example, the hot, dry, dusty winds that blow in the month of May and June across the northern plains in India are called Loo. Some other examples are the warm Chinooks, Rocky Mountains, North America, Harmattan, African Sahara, and Fohn Alps. Cyclone Feline, October 4, 2013 to October 14, 2013. A case study. Cyclone Feline was a Category 5 storm, the most powerful. It struck the coastal areas of Odisha and Andhra coast, causing massive destruction in the region, affecting 12 million people. Feline is a Thai word which means the fire. This cyclone prompted India's biggest evacuation in 23 years, with more than 550,000 people being moved from the coastline in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh to safer shelters. Feline brought very heavy rain of over 600 millimeters at many places in Odisha. It also damaged crops worth rupees 2,400 crore and claimed over 40 lives. Moisture. Moisture exists in the atmosphere in solid, liquid, and gaseous states. The amount of moisture present in the air varies with location and time. Air in equatorial regions has the highest proportion of moisture. Air has more moisture in summer than in winter. Moisture content in air decreases with increase in altitude. Amount of moisture in polar regions during winters is almost zero. Evaporation. Moisture present as water vapor in atmosphere is due to evaporation of water which takes place at all places and at all temperatures. Moisture is also added to the atmosphere by the transpiration process in plants or from moist soil. When the air is hot, dry, or windy, an increase in the rate of evaporation is observed. As the air cools and moistens, the evaporation rate decreases. Humidity. The actual amount of water vapor in the air is called humidity or absolute humidity. It is closely associated with air temperature. When air holds the maximum amount of water vapor at a given temperature, it is said to be saturated. An important and practically useful way of expressing humidity levels is in terms of relative humidity. It is defined as the ratio between the actual amount of water vapor present in air at a given temperature and the maximum capacity of the air to hold moisture at that temperature. Relative humidity is always measured as a percentage. While absolute humidity tells us about the amount of precipitation, relative humidity indicates its possibility. The amount of water vapor that the air can hold depends on the temperature of the air. Warm air can hold more water vapor than cold air. Measuring humidity of a place. Quantity of moisture in the air is the humidity of the place. It feels more sweaty when humidity is high at high temperature. Wet and dry bulb hygrometer is an instrument which measures the amount of humidity in the atmosphere. Condensation is the change of state of water from its gaseous form, water vapor, into liquid water. It generally occurs in the atmosphere when warm air rises, cools, and loses its capacity to hold water vapor. As a result, excess water vapor condenses around dust or smoke particles to form cloud droplets. Depending on their shape and height, clouds can be of three types, namely cirrus, cumulus, and stratus. The rain-bearing clouds are given the prefix or suffix nimbus. Examples of condensation are fog, clouds, frost, and dew. Precipitation is the term given to moisture that falls from the air to the ground. When small water drops fuse together, they grow in size until they can no longer float in air. Then they fall down as raindrops or snowflakes. This is called precipitation. Precipitation can be in the form of snow, hail, sleet, drizzle, fog, mist, and rain. Rainfall is the most important form of precipitation. It can be of three types. Convectional rainfall. Convectional rain is caused by the convection currents where the surface layer of the atmosphere is heated, causing the moisture-laden air to rise. As it rises, it cools to form cumulus clouds. These clouds cause sudden and heavy rainfall accompanied by thunder and lightning. This rainfall is called convectional rainfall and is very common in equatorial regions. The unequal heating of the Earth's surface causes convection. The resulting condition is that more widespread areas of colder air separate rising currents of warm air. The colder air slowly sinks to take the place of rising warm air. This occurs mostly in the tropics where it is hot. Frontal or cyclonic rainfall. This type of rainfall is usually associated with cyclones in tropical regions and with depressions in temperate regions. When two air masses, one warmer than the other, meet, the warmer air is forced to rise over the colder air. As this warm air rises, it cools and forms clouds just like the air in convectional rainfall. It is most common in the belt of westerlies, especially in winter season. Cyclonic rain originates where warm tropical air meets cold polar air. The warm air overrides the cold air. When contrasting air masses make contact, an abrupt zone or boundary is formed. This boundary is called a front. Relief or orographic rainfall. When a wind bringing moist air from the seashore encounters a mountain, it is forced to rise up the hillside. As this air rises, the air passes its dew point, the point at which condensation occurs, and the vapor forms clouds. The water vapor then falls as precipitation on top of the hill or on the other side. Rainfall is more on the windward side than on the leeward side. Measuring rainfall. In general, meteorologists measure the rainfall by using a rain gauge, also called ombrometer or pluviometer, which measures rainfall in centimeters or millimeters. The main source of fresh water on earth is rain, which is helpful in recharging groundwater and is also the main source of irrigation. However, rainfall is not even throughout the globe. Some regions have scanty rainfall causing droughts while some have flood. This was the reading of our lesson 6, Weather and Climate. If you have any doubt or query, you can ask me in the comment section below. Also, you can find the links to other lessons in the description box below. Thank you everyone.